Good morning and welcome and welcome and welcome. I thought I would start with a quick clip from some shows from I think a year or so ago around customer experience. And if you don't know Katie Maris, check out her new book. So here's a quick clip from Katie. 1 second. Here you go. So that's just a few clips. So let's get into it. Here we go. 1 second. Hello there, this is Ian Ellercott from the Auto Hub Show. We're going to meet Joel Benson, founder and CEO of VidCalls, a technology company that connects car shoppers on your website to your advisors on video sales calls. I know he's got a great announcement for you, but first, let's watch VidCalls in action.
When customers shop online for a car, who's really there to help?
Hello? Is anyone there?
With VidCalls, you can be there. Make it easy for your customers to connect with your team. And more connections mean more money. Double the conversions and get 35% more calls for just $7.95 a month. It's easy. There's no passwords, no appointments, just click to call. It's that simple. Plus, having a face-to-face connection reduces the friction, especially if you add the feature that translates your conversation to whatever language your customer speaks. What are you waiting for? The more connections you make, the more money you make. Double the conversions and get 35% more calls for just $7.95 a month with VidCalls.
Highly elevate a customer to live communication by using the digital tools that are available to us. VidCalls allows us, at least for a portion of that population, the people who will opt in, to page pass all of the other digital tools to order when they're ready. I think it's an excellent technology, and I don't know, for me, it makes all sense of the world.
Hello, Joel. So what's the announcement?
Oh, we've got a great announcement, Ian. You know, in my years of buying technology, I've never, ever bought technology before trying it first. And we're going to do the same thing for VidCalls. We are offering dealers a free 60-day trial, all of November and all of December. Why? Because we want dealers to experience the feeling, seeing it on their website, taking video calls from shoppers that want to buy cars. And the only way to know how our product works and how successful it can be is by dealers doing it in a free trial. So that's the deal. It's free, 100% free. And we'll be working with you, training your sales staff on how to receive the calls. Ian, take it from there.
Yep, so let me show you how easy it is to register. Here we go. Thanks, Joel. So if you want to take advantage of the free offer that Joel just mentioned, $1,600 in value, 60-day test drive on VidCalls, you go to the following website, freetrial.vidcalls.com. Whether it's on your phone or your desktop, this form will pop out. The registration ends October 10th, so don't miss out. Fill out your information and hit submit. If for some reason it doesn't pop up, you just hit the free trial and you do the same thing. Let's get into the show. Thanks for that great offer, Joel. Here we go. So thanks, Joel. So Joel, why don't you introduce yourself, and what we'll do from there is we'll get into the show. So go ahead, Joel.
Well, thank you. I am Joel Benson. I'm the CEO, and founder of VidCalls.com. I also own a marketing company called EventNet USA. And in 2020, one of my key clients, Humana, was in 114 stores when COVID hit. So we had to close all of our stores. And Humana came and called and said, how do we keep the face of our brokers in front of the face of senior citizens? Because seniors won't go into their office and brokers wouldn't go into the house of the senior. So we went to Zoom. We tried to figure out by using them, they need passwords, they need appointments. So it took 2.5 years, but we found a system, designed it, that we can connect anyone from a website, from a dealer website. All a shopper has to do is click on that website, and within seconds, we notify the Salesforce. Salesforce greets the shopper with a smile. That's VidCalls.
Thanks very much. So we're going by
Thanks, Ian.
order. So we have Mr. Derek from a small company in the AI side. And thanks, Derek, for sponsorship for the 2026 season. Introduce yourself and talk about what do you think the best way to communicate in 2025 is? Calling, texting, email, video call, combination. What do you think?
Yeah, Ian, thanks. Glad to be here with you guys as always. And hey, Bill.
Hey, Derek, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. So, it's interesting. If you look at the last 4 years, Ian, we've answered 41 million phone calls for dealers over the last 4 years with our AI platform. We've also handled over 150 million text messages. And so when you look at just those raw numbers, that's a, 4.5, 5 to 1, 4 to 1, 3.5, 4 to 1 text to phone call. So I don't know. Here's what I can tell you though. I believe that the customer wants to be met where they are presently. So if that is text, voice, video call, if it is web chat, they want to be engaged and engaged instantly, not at some time in the future, not hoping without hope that somebody's going to call them back or respond to a message that they sent 30 minutes ago. So I think that the key thing is we have to meet the customer where the customer is, and we have to be willing to do the right actions to make sure that we stay in communication with them. So, Joel with providing the solution where they got video calling on the website where a customer can click and connect to the sales team, that's instantaneous. The same thing with texting. Nobody sends a text message and expects to get a response 3 hours later, right? Like, how many times have you heard one of your kids say, "Oh, they left me on red," right, and didn't respond? They're very upset about it. So I know later we're going to talk generationally, but I can tell you this: it is demanding with what the consumers are expecting today. So I think we need to meet them where they are. I think if it's on the phone, you need to handle it on the phone. If it's text, you need to respond. If it's video call, if you're instant connecting with them on the website, you have to have people there to do that. They don't want to wait. That's the key thing, I think.
Fantastic. So let's get Bill on, since Bill, I know, handles a bunch of phone calls and probably has some customers have high expectations in the Cadillac world. What do you think?
You guys got me on audio. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
You're good.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, I've been fortunate enough to be using Numa since square one. But my opinion, my experience is, I like to meet the customers where they are, because if I choose my preference in terms of how I want to communicate with people, I'm going to eliminate a large portion of my potential customers, right? So for us, we do know instantaneous response. If it's a response, text message is great. Phones, great, obviously. Emails, we do all three. So our BDC people do as well in both sales and service. But I will say this: the nice thing about texting, it gives you a permanent record of the conversation, right? So everybody's tied into the same transcription. What's nice about, like say Numa as an example in our fixed operations, is that the customer calls in from the outside. There doesn't have to be a person on the other side of the conversation, and it will be a transcribed, recorded transcription of the message, which is important, and it's real time, 365 days a year. So we don't lose anything. So in other words, the customers that prefer the phone and the customers that prefer the text may be two different people. But the nice thing about like Numa as an example is you got both of those people in one spot. You're satisfying both of those needs. And you can communicate on an outbound basis with those customers. This is not a Numa ad. just to give you an example of where AI today
Yep.
is handling meeting the customers where they want to communicate with you. And also the ease of use. Look, a lot of the AI companies that are out there, and a lot of the CRMs that are out there are smart enough to know the number of screens, portals, or logins that you can eliminate down to 1 or 2 for a frontline person that prefers to communicate with a person by speaking to them. The better, more likely it is they're going to use that platform for that form of communication. So everybody runs around with their cell phone in their hands. One thing we know for sure, we get a lead from a customer, text them right away because they have their cell phone in their hands. Customer calls you right away, call them right back because they have their cell phone in their hands. Customer texts you, call them after you text them because they're probably reading the text message with the phone in their hands.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a mindset built into it. Hopefully I've answered your question. We usually follow up with an email to just to recap the conversation, because this way, if the customer would prefer to not have their cell phone in their hand and they're at work and they can hide from their boss and send an email, we can communicate via email as well.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Bill. Hunter, what do you think?
Yeah, so first off, just quick introduction. My name is Hunter Swift, and I just recently joined a new startup, a Swiss company called AGI Go. As a lot of you guys know, I've been in the auto industry for about 20 years and really excited to work with a company that will begin selling to enterprises, advanced conversational AI technology product to allow software companies to build off of our advanced conversational AI. So as we're talking about voice and chat and text, we're definitely going to be something that can help a lot of these companies take their products that they currently have and advance. But, as you asked the question about like a preferred method of contact, I think what Derek said about meeting the customer where they are, I think that's a great starting point.
Yep.
But something to add on that is meet them at a place that can accomplish the goal that they're trying to accomplish. I think too often we try to provide customers with experience. For example, because we don't have people that can answer the phone, we say, hey, let's try to put everything online. And then you have, you're pushing customers online, you have these online portals, you have these different tools that are set up. They go through all this process and they can't accomplish the tasks that they are setting out to do and then have to call. Or if you have somebody that's going down a particular path and then you say, okay, well, like in order for you to do this, we now need you to go online. You're texting with somebody, but now we need you to go to our online website and fill out a form, right? So I think as we look at ways to communicate with the customer, I think all of these channels are great, but the frustration that consumers usually have when they can't accomplish the goal that they have. And so one thing that I think, as we've been pushing a lot of stuff digitally, which I do think has a huge advantage, at some point throughout that sales process or that service process, we have to connect to a live human to establish trust, to answer questions, or to actually like negotiate a deal. I don't think we've gotten to the point where we can do everything by an AI. It still evolves that. And so I think one of the transitions of, because we have an online portal, a texting portal, we have voice and email and chat, is how do we integrate all of that so that the customer life cycle or that road to the sale is a seamless process, and we try to remove a lot of the barriers or the restrictions that cause a lot of frustration where it's not allowing the customer to get their ultimate goals. So I think we've definitely done a lot better of providing the things and the tools, but I still think there's a lot of processes that need to improve. And I think a little bit of that challenge is because dealerships use so many different tools, and you have a CRM tool that's doing something, you have a texting tool, you have a BDC, you have all these different things that are happening, and just trying to get those streamlined. So I think there's still a lot of progress, but we are making some really big strides in regards to providing exceptional customer service with technology, and AI is definitely a big part of that.
Thanks very much. So I'm going to go with Brandy, since she's the only lady on the panel. So Brandy, introduce yourself and answer the following question. What do you think the best way to communicate in 2025 is? Call, text, email, video chat, or AI? What do you think?
Thank you for having me. Great to be the only lady on the panel, surrounded by all this knowledge. So thank you for having me. But you know what? I caught on a little bit of what Derek said earlier, and also, of course, what Hunter is saying. It's the omni-channel presence. It's having that ability to make sure that my experience is the same no matter where I am. I've spent some time in dealerships lately, and I just, the one thing that's coming to my mind mostly lately is that we make a lot of assumptions. We make a lot of assumptions that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We make a lot of assumptions that sales managers are supposed to be training. We assume that even when a new store is taken over, that people all know the direction to go in, and we don't utilize each other enough.
Right.
We're talking about AI, but like, what about the team that you can sit there and share your everything with, share your client experiences? How do you unify? You get together and you have those meetings, not just meetings for the sake of the meeting, but making sure that, yeah, we know what customers are experiencing. I also think our biggest problem is that we speak in stock numbers, we speak in last names, we speak in deal numbers.
Right.
We don't, right? We take so much of the personal side out of it, and then we expect it to be personal. And it's just such an oversight that that until we start the HI, the AI is going to do you no good.
Fantastic. So Larry, it looks like he's left the building. So we're going to go with Peter. What do you think if you were going to pick a choice, or maybe multiples, text, email, or video call, or AI enabled, enhanced? Go ahead.
Well, the very first thing I'm going to talk about is the archaic nature of our business. The challenge with regardless of whatever solution that we choose is best for us, it takes forever to get buy-in from a dealer because they are under the belief right now, post-COVID, is that they have to get back to basics, and back to basics is the 1970s journey to the sale, or the service drive walkthroughs, or whatever the solution is. They're going back to what they know best.
Yeah.
One of the challenges, and we see it all the time, or I see it all the time, is we're coming up to NADA, digital dealer, this, that, whatever. There's 1,700 automotive vendors out there. If a dealer principal or a general manager was to go out and review each vendor for 1 hour, which is basically what it takes to understand them, it would take 8.5 years for that to happen. And there's no possible way. So what happens is, the dealer principal or general manager or whatever calls up 3 of their buddies and says, "Who do you use? What do you use?" And then they make their decision based on that, because that's the quickest. They don't have the time, and it's unfortunate. So my personal belief in this is we have to engage with something that is going to be progressive.
Yep.
Regardless of what we're doing now, and understand that digital retailing, which is a form of video calls, AI, text, chatbots, whatever, digital, that's all encompassed in digital retailing, exists.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to come aggressively to that, because every other industry has, and we're lagging. So with that, personally, I think the best opportunity is video.
Okay.
Because it's interactive, and you see what you're dealing with, and you don't get frustrated because you actually see the face of the person, the empathy of the person, the reactions of the person, and rather than trying to imagine. It's like watching a hockey game or listening to one on radio. Fantastic. Which do you actually understand more?
Thanks for that. Larry, I know that you're an AI, or at least an AI is here with you. What do you think on the choices when presented with those menu choices?
Well, actually, I do equate to AI, because my wife will convince me that I do have artificial intelligence, if any intelligence at all. So it's sad. The right answer is the best way is no longer the way. The best way to communicate with people is via a phone call, because texts, emails, a million different ways can be miscommunicated. Something that you think is funny could be considered racist, misogynistic, whatever. The reason the Joel's program makes sense is it combines video. Brandy, I was just at a dealership in Minnesota training, and they threw me, after I got done with sales, into the BDC, and I gave the most common logical base you can. How do you reach people the best? You do it 4 ways. You do a phone call, a text, an email, and a video. So the beautiful thing about Joel's system is it combines a call with video. You're seeing the video, but it's not something static. You can actually talk to the people. But unfortunately, my concept and the world's concept are completely different because I love to call people. I love to answer my phone. You cut most of the BS and misunderstanding out of the process, but sadly, that's just not the way it works. And what Hunter's doing, what people are doing with the deciphering the systems is also the new way of the world. I mean, think about it. Is there anybody on this call that doesn't understand that if you want to get in shape, eat less sugar, and if you're watching TV, jump rope or do jumping jacks or, get more physical activity? Yet people go to trainers to learn how to exercise when it's something to rudimentary understanding we should all have. So
Jerry,
for
I'm
me,
gonna add to that, actually,
Okay.
because exactly, and you'd be the best to even verify, as much as omni experience should be the same, I really think that dealers don't cater to the type of buying experience and the type of buyer that buys through certain experiences. So, dealer isn't, we talked about in the past where, certain establishments, if not all of them, have created a skip the windows, Uber Eats pickup place, right? They have catered their business model to account for that. And I really think we don't profile enough to say, okay, you know what? So-and-so is a great video recorder. They do an awesome walk around. They can edit it up. We should be giving them these inquiries. This style person, this salesperson is really, really great on the phone. They have no problems drilling it. They'd rather just answer the phone all day and not see a customer. Those go to you. Why are we not doing that side of the profiling to attach and know that as much as it should be omni, the client, to cater to the client is what's most important.
And
the reason is, even though we're $1 trillion industry, we're not sensitive to our customers' needs. Now, you're in Canada. I've been in Canada to train a lot. There's Tim Horton, famous hockey player. In the States, we have Dunkin' Donuts. And every Dunkin' Donuts around my area, and I bet you around Joel's, that was in a shopping center, has closed. They get a larger piece of ground because they know that people are too damn lazy to get out of their car. And if there's no drive-through, their business can't flow through. So it's an insensitivity. And the reason it happens, I think, just again, my opinion is we have dual cultures at car dealerships. We have the one that the dealer or the GM will tell you about and the one that actually exists. Because everybody, Derek will nod his head, everybody's proud of talking about their culture until you actually experience their culture. And it's because they don't go to their own websites, they don't make their own service calls. They don't see how long it takes to get to somebody, how many voicemails they get, how people done. So it's just about being sensitive. Randy, I'm not making this up. Ian has promoted me. Peter's promoted me. Joel promotes me. I've done a little work. William.
I promote you.
And well, that's true. And I get a lot of business, and people call up and go, "You SOB, you answered your phone." So of course I answer my phone. Yeah, but Ian, Brandy, they told me you would answer your phone. Now, why the hell should you get a medal for answering your damn phone? Camastro, you're smart as hell. Everybody you know has a cell phone, and you probably have 3 cell phones. You said once losing your cell phone would be like having your family plunge over a cliff. And yet you can't get anybody on the phone. So
Yeah.
I know I'm a dinosaur. I know that what I do isn't going to fit. Okay. I tell Bill, you'll laugh your butt off. I do business with a 23 dealership group. I do all their cottage industry for me. And every month I get a call. Hey, Larry, I love this tech. I can't get them. What'd you do? I left him a message. He says, stop leaving them messages. Half these idiots don't have voicemail or the voicemail's gone. Text them. So we've already seen the call. Derek, I'm looking at you. You look like me, a little bit over 18 years old. Would that be an acknowledgement? Do you remember the days when the phone rang at your house and everybody ran to the phone because they were excited to see who was on the phone?
Yeah.
Now we've gotten to the point, out of hell with it. It might be a customer. You might want to buy something. I'll make more money. I'll be in a different tax bracket.
Hey, Larry, I want to ask you a question. When's the last time you saw a phone booth?
Hey, wait a minute. I'm getting a lot of questions after I've acknowledged that my intelligence is artificial. But
No, I'm just saying.
question.
I'm just saying.
It was
Wall phones, anybody have a wall phone still in their house? Raise your hand.
I do, but remember, I'm a Tyrannosaurus Rex of the car business.
Well, thanks for that, Larry. I got a comment from LinkedIn. No matter what we use as a tool, we need to believe in buy-in from people. It's all about making things personal. And I think I want to ask Bill a quick question. You know, obviously you use AI, you probably use chatbots, you use telephones, I'm assuming, and texting. Do you think AI is sort of advanced ahead of what would have been the chatbots? Do you think chatbots are yet dead and AI will kill them, or what do you think?
Well, I think so. I mean, look, here's one of the things I know for sure. Chat on a website is almost obsolete for that very reason. Yeah. Because chat on a website is really just a holding pattern for customers, and that is a fact. Okay? All it's meant to do is slow the customer down, gather information, but it just really isn't going to answer anything that a human being could answer for them, right? AI / like Numa, and I'm using Numa as an example because Derek's here, I use it, and it's a great example. It actually responds to the customer in a meaningful, personalized way. It's not the human being. The young lady, I can't see her name from here that's on this call, but she did make a very, very good point that I'd like to add to that. AI is not going to replace people. And I'll just very simply, if I said to you, whether you live in Canada or whether you live in the US, if AI really is the answer, how come the President of the United States is not an AI bot? How come the Premier of Canada is not an AI bot? How come you're not all married to AI computers that tell you everything you want to hear when you walk to the door at the end of the day? Yeah. Because there's human innate needs for interaction. There's human innate needs for body language, sense of smell, seeing, you know, the vibe that you give off. Why does one person
smiling, Bill?
Absolutely. Why does one person make more of an impact than another person? But I do want to make one other point because it came up, and Larry, I think Larry hit on it. Everybody that's on this call, I mean, I'm not saying I'm the only car dealer because that's a badge of honor. It just happens to be in this, you know, Hollywood Squares. I happen to be that person. But all of you exist on this call, all of you, because people either don't do things or are limited by the number of things they can do or don't want to do them. That's why all of you exist in your roles in the world. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a job and we wouldn't be on a conference call right now. Okay? The fact is, everything that we do is meant to enhance a human being's ability at some level or another to perform at a level that gets the desired result.
Right.
Okay? If we get the human beings that we hire to understand that, then what we're doing is we're taking a finished product and enhancing it by 50%. Right? So that's what I think AI's role in this world is. And I think that's where it's going to settle in because truth be told, AI doesn't truly think forward. If you can open your mind for a second, think about this. It doesn't truly think forward. It thinks anecdotally based on the data that's given to it. It could also think on a biased nature based on the person that writes the code or feeds the data or the data sources. A human being can make a creative decision to decide something they've never decided before, or take a risk they've never decided before, or say something they've never said before, or say something that doesn't make sense to get a reaction that they didn't anticipate getting, right? What's the intrigue about dating? Well, this person's different than that. This person looks like this, but they have a great personality. This person looks great, but they don't have a personality. AI can't do that for us. Yeah. It can't do that for us. It only has intuitive logic based on the data that it's fed. But like in the case of Noma, as an example, if the data that's fed allows it to make good assumptions and provide those assumptions back to the consumer real time, that allow it to bridge the gap between the human experience and the current customer's need on real time, it gives the human being at the end of it an opportunity to get back into that conversation or back into that experience real time without starting from square one. So it automatically enhances the experience of doing business with AI. And which predominantly is when the service advisor is busy talking to someone else, you're gathering customers. When the service advisor is in, Tijuana because they're on vacation, they can communicate real time. They could even text to call from their cell phone when they're on vacation, when they see a text, text communication come in or a transcription come in. So, going back to what's the best form of communication with customers, the best form of communication is the one that helps the customer elevate to live contact with you most quickly. That's my opinion.
Fantastic.
Hey, Bill, what's interesting is the scary thing of social media is how so many people, like sheep, see what comes through and dig it. Think about what Bill said. Bill said it's the interpretation, and you can, if you're anti-Trump or pro-Trump, you can bias it. But that's always been the case. History is always interpreted by the people that write it. If they think somebody's great, they write a flattery. If they think it's negative, they write a negative. But there used to be a time when we would discuss things, converse more instead of looking into a screen. So again, AI is brilliant, but it can't put its arm around you and say, man, that happened to me. The only other thing, Bill, and then I'll jump off, is Ian had a point. You indicated that if AI was so good, the chatbot of the United States and Canada would be bots. And according to Ian, the last prime minister was an AI bot. Would that be correct, Ian?
Yeah, he had a wig though, nice wig though.
He was a hologram powered by an AI bot.
Glad we cleared that up. I like to be precise on this show. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Derek.
Go ahead, comment. What's interesting is Bill and Larry are both mentioning like a lot of benefits and values with a particular channel, but then we always prefix like it's not perfect, right? And as you're asking the question of what is the best, right? I don't think we're at a point where it's really one versus another, because with each channel, like for example with phones, like, well, that's obviously probably the highest trust and empathy channel, but you have to deal with hold times. You have to deal with people not being available. What happens when you have a really good person who is great on the phone, but they're on another call? When you look at text messaging, well, obviously that wins with speed and convenience, but it's sometimes interpreted wrong because you don't understand, the meaning, or it's not a long form, channel where I can do like long things. It's better for quick things. Email is great for documentation and sending attachments, but then we deal with spam. Even with video calls, which I think is great. Like sometimes I don't want to do a video call because my background doesn't look good, or maybe a woman doesn't have her makeup on or something, right?
Yeah.
So there's challenges with that. And then even as Larry was mentioning with AI, where there's a lot of benefits, you have to look at, well, is the data good? Can it do all the things that it's supposed to do? So your question, Ian, about what's the best way, I still think today there's not a clear winner, because they have benefits and negatives. But it's about getting these things together. And I forgot if it was Larry or who said it about the customer experience of like going through that process. Like if I was going to start a business, the first thing I would need to do is come up with a business plan. Right. And I think a lot of dealerships, the things that they need to do is take a step back and build out a plan of how they would like their customers to interact with their dealership, and say, okay, when they're on our website, what does that experience look like? When they call, and look at all these things and look at the roadblocks and look at things when people, don't answer the calls, or when they stop communicating, and what's working and what's not. The problem is dealerships don't have the time or really want to plan out that. And so they keep adding new vendors and new processes, and they keep throwing it, and the experience is just awful. And then when we go back and say, well, why didn't it do what we did? It's like, well, we keep jumping from different platforms. We have different experiences. We have different things. And there's just, like I said, there is not a clear winner, but it's the successful dealerships are the ones that are going to go out and look at all the best things that's out there and put this together in a plan that is the easiest and the best for their customers.
Thanks for that.
So,
Hunter, do you agree? Hey, Bill, let me just throw one idea, because I think you'll agree. I'll shut up. Hunter, would you agree then the one thing that's absolutely correct, the one thing that human beings have in common with AI is neither one of us are perfect. And that if we don't have things to augment or correct what we do or complement what we do, we're never going to reach full potential.
Well, it's one of those things that was said, someone said, I think it was Bill, that the only thing AI can't do is think forward. And we all agree that the human interaction is by far the best. So if we found a way to pick up a customer in an Uber and bring them over to the car dealership, that's the home run, but that's not going to happen. So we work with AI, because when AI finishes meeting with a consumer, they can click a button and take the consumer and send them into the showroom, meeting with a salesperson face to face. Same thing with chatbot. If someone's on a chatbot answering questions, the chatbot can say, hey, would you like to meet with one of our salespeople right now? Click here. Chopper clicks. They see the salesman face to face. So there's lots of ways around it. We love working with AI, chatbots, whatever. Bottom line is human interaction, face to face. If the salespeople do their job, it's two-way video. They can show the car. The customer at home can say, oh, I want to trade in my 2020 Mazda. They can show them the Mazda. They can show them the odometer and how many miles are on the car. There's just so much interaction with two-way video. So yes, we want to continue working with chatbots. Yes, we want to certainly continue working with AI as in a partnership to get the job done.
Thanks for that.
Hey, Peter, go ahead.
Just want to jump on this for a second because Hunter is exactly right. We don't see the workflows that the customer wants, and they because we haven't done an audit on our systems yet. We'll say we've done an audit on our teams. We say we've done an audit on our IT. We say we do all these different audits, but we don't really functionally interact those audits together. So we need to do micro audits on our dealership constantly, not mystery shops, but micro audits. And then once we do those micro audits, we can actually ascertain our customer journey, because what the biggest thing that we're missing in the dealership right now is retention of client. We're down to, after the warranty is run out, we're down to 9% retention. And that's unsustainable. 70% before the first service, and 70% after the warranty is run out. So we need to do those micro audits to improve our customer retention, and that customer retention is going to help us with our employee retention and save us money that is not shown on the statement.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, and Peter,
How dumb is
Wait,
it?
wait.
a minute. How dumb is it, Peter, that CSI is looked at so we can get money from the OEM rather than I'm reaching out to my damn customer because I want to keep my customer happy.
Yeah. Derek,
Exactly.
Derek, do you have any thoughts
Go ahead,
there? It's
I
been a
didn't
while.
jump
Go
in.
ahead.
No, I'm saying I keep seeing Derek get off mute, so I want to make sure Derek gets to speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
What's funny about this whole conversation is that if you think about how we treat customers in the different channels, you'll realize that we've got a different sales process or a different service process depending on which channel they engage us in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy when you think about that. We need to everybody's point, we need to really audit what we're doing as far as our communication. And we need to be prepared to maximize that communication through whatever channel we're engaging with the customer. And ultimately, Joel, you're right. Let's get the customer to the dealership, right? There's some people that aren't going to come to the dealership to buy a car, but the vast majority of them are at some point in time. So we have to use the tools that we have available to get to the next level. But we can't have a different sales process or a different service process for every channel because it's going to fail miserably. So the only thing that I'll say is that all of the things that we're talking about fail when our team is not prepared, right? And one of the things that I've loved about working with Bill is that his teams are always prepared. They know what they have to do to get to the next step. And I think when we look at any of these different platforms and any of the different tools, the only goal in any interaction is what? To get the customer to the next step. And I'm not talking about the 7 steps to a sale or to the, we got to have a 10-step sale process you have to follow. I'm saying our goal is to get the customer from an engagement to an interaction to a purchase, right? We have to get to the next step. And so our processes across all platforms have to drive towards that. So when you look at this, I think that's the key thing that we're all saying. We need to meet the customer. And you know what Joel's saying, with no matter where it engages the customer with his video calls, and it gives the option to do that face-to-face, whether it's a text or a chat or an email or a website click, like the salesperson's on the other end of it. That's getting to where we've got the same process across the whole thing. And that's a challenge. Like, I think we can all agree that's a challenge. We all handle customers differently. So the other key thing I think is that all of the things that we've been talking about, the human in the loop is the single most critical aspect of that.
100%.
Like, if you look at NASCAR, the cars are roughly the same. right? They have the same horsepower and they have the same aerodynamic profile. The reality is every week somebody wins because that team performed better. And at your dealership, that's what you have to strive for, is how do I prepare my team to handle the interactions with the customers throughout all of these channels and to get them from engagement to interaction to purchase. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I
Can I
love
just
where
add-
this conversation's going.
Can I just add something? Because
Yeah.
Derek, I think you brought up an interesting point. If we're talking about the road to sell and all these different channels, I feel like one thing that we haven't done a really good job of in automotive is separating shopping from buying. A lot of times we assume in our industry that if somebody goes to our website, they're ready to buy, right? Like we have this mentality, if they're on the lot, like I have to sell them. And if you think about buyers today where they want information and they want research, if you now separate that and now look at those channels and you say, what is the best channel? If somebody is just shopping, they're not ready to buy yet, but they're looking to gather information, they're looking to compare models. These channels start to open up and you start seeing the outcome different. If you now switch and you say, okay, this is a customer that's ready to buy, what channel does that work? And I think what happens is we could create these plans or paths for both of them. And then what we're doing is we're merging them, and it's not creating the ideal one because we're constantly trying to sell somebody that's shopping or vice versa. And so just an interesting thing that when you mentioned that, I was like, man, maybe one of these channels is better if I'm shopping or if I'm buying. And we haven't done a really good job of separating those two.
Yeah, Bill, I just had a question for you because obviously we're talking about AI and we're talking about replacing humans or augmenting humans, AI enhanced. Do you think they'll ever replace humans, or do you think they'll always be that collaborative arrangement? What do you think?
I don't. As long as humans buy cars, humans will be involved somewhere along the line. Is my opinion, and also, to that very point, a few very I think key issues. One, and many of you are involved in the training or the software world or software platforms and applications. Okay, the frontline people don't think like you do. The language that goes on in their head, the focus in their head is not what yours is. Okay. So people that create software platforms, they want to create a solution to inequity or to make something more efficient. You can create anything you want, but if the end user is not willing, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. How many all of you that have, whether it's Let's Chat or whether it's Numa, or you all have factored in what's your churn rate, and you measure it and you relate it to your sales forces to sell your product.
Yep.
Okay. You all do. And the reality of it is, why do you have a churn rate? You have a churn rate because you come in, one of your people comes in, they come and talk to someone like me. They tell you how many more cars you're going to sell, how much more money you make, and they don't really look at your business to evaluate what your needs really are and make it personalized to your business. And you go ahead and buy it, which is the biggest mistake that can happen, because now you're going to ensure that when you give it to your general sales manager or to your general manager or your fixed operations director, and they plug it in because you told them it's going to do X, Y, and Z, 3 months from now, when they're going to their default position, which is what they're going to do innately, right? They're going to do what they normally do because they don't have the Pavlovian theory kicking in. They don't, when you ring the bell, they're not foaming at the mouth yet. And you're going to go back to them in 6 months and say, what's going on? I thought this thing was going to sell us more cars. And they're going to tell you, that thing sucks. We don't use it. And you're going to cancel. Right?
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. Because and I'm not pointing at you folks. I'm just pointing at people on that side of the industry, the vendors. Their job is to sell the product to the consumer, being us, the dealer. They're going to tell us how great the solution is, how slick the algorithm is or the code, what it sources and what it spits back out, and how it's going to make your life so much more simple. If the people on the other end they don't understand what you understand. They don't see what you see. What they see is a customer in front of them and they want a commission right now, or they see a customer in front of them, they want the repair order to be robust with 3, 4, 5 lines on it. Okay? If you need to educate, we do this here, and I'm telling you, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I actually have meetings with all my people about every software platform we use. And I explain to them, here's our process, our manual process. Here's where we fall short. If you're working our process 95 to 100% of the time, you're going to get X. Here's how that software can take you from that place to the next level. If you're operating at 50% and you're mediocre at following process, you can add any software platform you want. You're going to go backwards because you're going to use that software platform as your second reason to not do your job. We had this experience with Numa when we first plugged it in, and Derek will remember this. We plugged in Numa, right? We were one of the first, if not the first dealers in the country. We got on Numa, and I'm providing feedback to Numa, and first thing that happens is my service advisors stop answering the phones. And they stopped answering the phones because they're like, okay, well, this thing answers the phones for me. I might as well just turn my volume down and never answer it now. So for the first month, that's what happened. Now, I know the value of Numa and how it can enhance their production. So I dug right back in, and we started, I got my phone company to measure all the measurables that relate to how many times did they actually pick up the phone? How many times was there a voice on the other end? They had to at least be on the phone for 45 seconds for it to be counted as a completed call. How many outbound phone calls were they making? Because when they think someone else is answering the phone for them, they don't make outbound phone calls. If you get them to do all those things and you stay on the manual things and then add the AI, you take human beings and make them very much more effective. If you only have AI, let's say you cleared the whole dealership out, right? Bill Camaster was a bot, and so is everybody else in the place. Okay, given a convicted criminal who's in a cell block by himself a choice between an AI chatbot and a human being, he's going to take a human being every time, even if he can't touch them. Okay, they're going to take a human being every time. Why? Because that's what we were in search of as human beings. Customers will always want that experience at the end, but they want it to be efficient. They want it to be black and white, and they want it to be met where they want to be. To Hunter's point, there are shoppers, there are buyers. How do we elevate a shopper to become a buyer? Well, it starts with the initial interaction. I believe I can turn all shoppers into buyers while I'm talking to them, but they have to get sold on me first to make me the source of their information. If I can use AI to enhance that communication, or even more so, to keep them tethered to my organization when I don't have live contact, that's where AI really comes in handy. When it completes the communication loop with the customer, and after they've been in that loop a couple of times, they realize the value of that communication loop. They're okay with going to Numa and doing the voice opt-in transcription because they know it still requires the advisor to call them back or text them.
Yeah.
Okay? So while you're keeping them tethered, that's great. But if your advisor doesn't do their job, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. When you get to the point where you realize your processes that have AI overlaid on them that are executed properly, take your dealership forward. Think in those terms because we're going to do the thinking forward, not the AI. The AI provides us much quicker information. It makes summaries and it makes assumptions much quicker than we ever can because it has more inflow data than we could ever process in our brains. But we still have to make a decision.
Fantastic. So based on all that, Bill, thanks for that. What have you learned about communication from that experience of initially a failure and then turning that into success? What have you learned from your experience with AI with your team in terms of communication? Like, what did that teach you?
I think the most important thing is it can speed up just about everything if it runs side by side with a human being. It fills in it fills in the holes in the Swiss cheese for us. For me, is the best way to put in simple terms. It makes the human beings more effective if they embrace it. They can't make it their go-to. They have to use it as a tool. And I think that's where if you're there, you'll be real time with everybody. Because I look at it like, okay, great. If I'm sleeping and I can't use my cell phone and I'm not emailing, I can still communicate with my customers. It won't be at the same level, but they're still my customer. If it's a holiday, if it's Christmas Day at 8:00 in the morning and someone gets stuck on the side of the road and they dial into my dealership because they don't know what else to do, Numa engages with the customer. Numa sends out a text alert to me and all of my managers, real time on Christmas morning. Bill Camaster will pick up the phone and call the customers. I do it all the time. And people are shocked. They're shocked that I call them. If I get my employees thinking the same way, then they'll be encouraged to call in, 365 days a year. They'll be encouraged to call in after hours. They'll be encouraged to call in before we open up because they know the communication lines are open. Where most people that call most dealerships, oh, sorry, we're closed. We open tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. And that's the sum total of their experience.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
So
So
I couldn't agree with you more. I did a mystery shop on a BMW dealership, and they took 5.5 hours to call me back. Once I called them, or I emailed them, and then once I had spoke to them personally, the next time they talked to me was 9 weeks later, and asked me if I was still interested.
wow.
I'm sorry, what? That's when you go, I'm sorry, what dealership was this again? My car's running great.
Am I calling you at a bad time?
Yeah, I'm just heading down the highway in the car that you were supposed to sell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's exactly that. If we don't have buy-in from our teams, and we don't lead by example, we'll never get them to engage at the level that the customer wants them to engage with. Not what we want, but the customer wants. And that's the biggest challenge here. We fail to realize that it's the customer that funds everyone on this panel, from the dealer to the vendor to the consultant to you name it. We're all funded by the customer, and if we don't see what they want, we'll never see how to change and become better.
We're almost out of time. We're almost out of time.
People on this call, man. This must have cost you a fortune.
Well, we're almost out of time, so I guess we got time for final comments. Hunter, you haven't talked in a while. You want to give us your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what Peter said about providing value to the humans, a lot of times humans think it's AI versus humans. As a human, there are things in my day that I do not like doing. There are things that are below my pay grade, right? Where I see technology and AI is taking that repeatable, mundane, other task off of my plate, which doesn't diminish my value. It actually increases my value because the interactions that I do have are more important. I can do the things that the AI can't do. And so as you're trying to get buy-in from people, and that's where you want to have conversations with them and say, what's the frustration? Even as you have a BDC making outbound calls, well, they don't like doing all of the dials and not getting a hold of people. They hate doing the repetitive stuff, right? Well, let's start moving people farther down the funnel so that it's easier to have interactions, right? So AI is, well, I mean, it can't replace everything, but it should be replacing the things that they don't want to be doing, or the things that they could do better, or more importantly, the things that fall through the cracks, right? If they're not following up with a lead, if they're not responding to somebody, if they forget something, that's where AI should pick up. And again, it makes them more valuable because it's like, great, nothing fell through the cracks, right? So that's my final thought.
Thanks. Derek, final thought. What do you think?
Just tagging on what Hunter said. Look, AI is designed to drive efficiencies, not replace people. Bill, you're spot on, man. It's a human-to-human business, and any technology needs to be, one goal is to get your valuable humans in front of your most valuable commodity, which is your customer. And that's all we can ever hope to do. And so you need a partner that's going to help you do that, and that's going to put your people in a position that they can win. And that's the key.
Thanks very much. Brandy, what do you think?
Obviously, I agree with everybody's insight on the panel. A couple things I noted is, salespeople often just do sales for the sake of checking off a box or getting somebody off their back. And sadly, until we really recognize the why and understand the path of the contact, hey, I sent a text, I made a call, I emailed, I did. You're doing things just to do them by sake. And let me tell you, the client actually feels it. So until you're putting that passion into that contact, that human intelligence, that human connection, that is always going to lack. The other thing I noted that also Bill said was, besides the fact that he called me young lady, you made my day, Bill. But you actually did the steps to ensure that the new product was getting out of it everything that you were promised. That's very important in any relationship. But what's extremely important is that it took the human interaction to support you. We can depend on AI all we want, but even you needed to be supported by Derek and his company to actually make it happen. And that all took, like you say, the forward thinking to connect and recognize where the problem lied, and that wouldn't have been solved by AI. You actually had to, so yes, do we need each other? 100%. That's the only thing, you know, these love them and leave them sales platforms, you know, that really focus on sales being the love them and leave them. It's the support that's going to make vendors like us actually last. So, and again, that starts with humans.
Thanks. Larry, I know you're AI enhanced, so maybe you can share your thoughts.
The only thing I would advise is when you're implementing an AI tool or a human tool, remember the things that drive you crazy. Because if we're sensitive to the fact that people don't like going through 9 prompts and getting hung up on, or leaving a voicemail and never getting returned, the more we empathize with the people, the more we treat people like we want them to come back, the more likely we are to have them come back and retain them as customers.
Thanks. Bill, final thoughts?
Great panel, great content. Again, to you know, some of what Brandy was saying, I think is, you know, to me, the end result is always going to be about people, and I think she hit it spot on. You know, people want human interaction. Bottom line, they want it, but they want it to be good. So if AI enhances our ability to make human interaction good, AI becomes a very, very strong positive, very, very strong positive. And lastly, I'm you know, and I'm not to be boastful. I'm a mad scientist. I love what I do. You know, so what I think the best results we can get from anything that we do is find like-minded people that have the right character before we hire them. Not somebody who comes in with a bag of bullshit that tells you what a great salesperson they were where they just left. Well, you left there for a reason. Okay. To me, and Larry sees this all the time. All of my salespeople are trained ground up, all of them, purposely, and they're trained by me, and I own the place, and I do it for a reason, because I want the most pure information I can possibly give to people, and they're going to hear it from me 5 days a week. So at the end of the day, as the saying goes, I think that the human interaction is really the key, and how AI can help enhance that human interaction, make it more efficient and more timely.
Thanks for that. Peter, we've got time for a very short comment. Go ahead.
Sure. I'd just like to say that AI is not the silver bullet that everyone thinks it is. It still needs to be trained. It's been trained on everything that we're doing. And as Bill said, it's not forward thinking yet. It doesn't have that capacity. And with that, it's we have to train it right, because garbage in gets garbage out. And you can get an AI to hallucinate, as they call it, by asking it tough questions.
Thanks for that. Joel, final comment. I know you're AI enhanced now, so go ahead.
Well, the show was on phones versus AI versus chat versus vid call. So we didn't talk about phones that much. So that pretty much says we're not happy with the telephone system. And I definitely want to work with AI and with chatbots at the dealerships. And just to mention to the dealers that are watching, it's hard to buy technology at the very beginning. So we are offering a 2-month free trial. I think Ian mentioned that before. Ian, the website is what?
You can definitely sign up today. All you have to go to is freetrial.vidcalls.com. That's freetrial.vidcalls.com. It's up on the stream now. And if you have questions, you can just reach out at sales@vidcalls.com.
Thank you. And just in ending, I definitely know that we do need each other, and we need to meet. If we can meet face to face, that's great. I think AI is magnificent, and I think if AI can climb that ladder, when a shopper first comes in and they get into an AI call, AI takes them up to a certain level and then transfers that football from the quarterback over to the halfback, and says, "Okay, shopper, would you like to meet on a video call?" We've had women that have told us from dealers that they put on makeup and put on their nice outfit before they get on a video call, because that's just the way it is.
That just tells us we need more filters. We just need filters. That's all we need. I haven't done my makeup today. There's just a filter here.
This is fun. And then lastly, think of where this show would be right now if there was no video. And we were just talking on the phone with each other with 7 of us. God.
Yeah.
This was great. Great. Thank you for.
Oh, you mean like Clubhouse?
Really appreciate it.
Exactly. Have yourself a great week. Thanks very much. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Thank you, everybody.
Come on, everyone.
Bye.